Okay, so we're going to get started with today's information session. Thank you everyone who is joining us from all around the world. We're very happy to see the amount of interest our information session about this exciting new master program has garnered. So thank you for those of you who are joining us live, and also those of you who will be watching this later in our UNIC channel on YouTube and in other formats. So we're going to get started as we have roughly 1 hour to cover a lot of information and then also answer all of your questions. So a very short amount of housekeeping information. We are recording this information session so that you can watch it later. It will also be posted on the UNIC YouTube channel, as I mentioned, and it will be shared with you because you registered for the webinar. I kindly ask you to please write your questions on the Q&A section that you should be able to see on your screen if you tap on your screen or on your mobile, and you will be able to type your question there, and we will answer all of the questions at the end of the session. We also have a chat part in case you have any specific comments, but please keep your questions to the question and answer session so it's easier for us to check and answer them at the end. So I want to very briefly introduce today's speakers. We are very lucky to have here with us several of the professors who will be teaching in this new joint master's program. They will give a more in-depth introduction about themselves a bit later, but I want to mention who is here. And I'm going to ask them to very briefly open their cameras as I'm mentioning them and to say hello to today's participants. So first we have Dr. Jason O'Shaughnessy from University College Cork, Ireland. Hello, Professor. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Dennis Linehan from University College Cork, Ireland. I hope I got your surname.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you. From Germany, we have Professor Thomas Feldhoff from Ruhr-Universität Bochum. Hello. We have Professor Jean-Marie Hallot from Université de Liège in Belgium, also here. Yes, I think I see him. So, Professor Vedran Dulabic from University of Zagreb in Croatia, also joining.
Hello.
Hello, Professor. We also have Assistant Professor Aslı Günay from Koç University in Turkey.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, thank you. We have Dr. Matthias Falk from Ruhr-Universität Bochum in Germany as well.
Hello.
Hello. And finally me, my name is Melissa Abache. I work at Koç University in Turkey in international student recruitment, and I'm going to be hosting today's webinar. So I'm here to help things go smooth today. So to give you an overview of what we're going to be covering, we're going to give a very brief introduction for those of you who are not familiar about UNIC, about this very special alliance of European universities. And then we're going to start to talk about the new master's program, Redesigning the Post-Industrial City. We will talk about what makes the program special, what type of skills and knowledge you gain as a graduate of the program. And then this is the reason why we have the distinguished professors here, is to talk about each of the semesters and specifically the different specialization tracks that are offered in the master's program so that you can get a good overview of the courses that are offered, the specific elements that will be emphasized in each of those tracks. And then we will cover about the last 10 minutes. It's going to be talking about admissions in terms of eligibility to apply for the program, application documents, and practical information, such as deadlines and how and where to apply. And finally, we will have time to answer questions. So very briefly, for those of you who are not familiar, the European University of Cities in Post-Industrial Transition, or UNIC, is an alliance that connects 10 unique universities that are located in vibrant post-industrial cities. This was established in 2020, and it's one of the pioneering European universities that are supported by the European Commission through the Erasmus program. The aim of this alliance of universities is that we're going to be building a new educational experience that focuses on inclusion, seamless mobility between staff, students, and of course faculty, between the universities, and more importantly, that we are able to create societal impact in the cities in which our universities are located and the wider region of Europe and even worldwide with activities like what we're doing today. One of the key differentiating factors about UNIC as an alliance is that it wants to bring science to the city. So, we're not only creating a bond between the universities, but also a collaborative network that also involves city partners of different types. So, one of the elements of those networks is the UNIC City Labs. To talk about a bit more about what are these city labs, because you will keep hearing about these city labs a bit later on when we talk about the master's program, I want to invite Dr. Jason O'Shaughnessy from University College Cork in Ireland to talk about the city labs, because he already has a lot of experience in terms of what the city labs involve and how, the type of impact that they have started to create.
So. Thank you, Melissa. So the City Labs are a really exciting way of starting the RePIC program. In fact, they're based on kind of co-design, co-creation processes that really try to involve the community, other stakeholders like municipalities, large companies, different organizations, and really try to kind of develop learning and research practices that are ethnographic based, that are co-design based, or co-created effectively. So the focus of those really is to kind of think about those processes in relation to the post-industrial cities that we will be kind of examining and the studies will be sort of based in. And really that will be all aligned with the EU's urban agenda, which is around kind of key themes around digital transition, climate adaptation that we kind of know about and reading about the impact of that. Including also the focus and inclusion of migrants and refugees, how we're sort of thinking about places for them in our sort of cities of the future. We're also kind of widening that to think about strategic planning and housing, and also kind of skills, different types of kind of skills within post-industrial economies. And possibly also one of the significant things is how to think about the very distinct cultural heritage that exists within post-industrial cities, trying to find new ways to both sort of visualize that, to sort of think about that, to augment that, and really kind of curate a different sort of vision for the future. So the City Labs really are kind of an immersive site, a 1 week field site where students and teachers come together with these local kind of groups to kind of problematize and think about the kind of challenges for the future of the sort of cities. So it's really a kind of a melting pot where kind of students get to directly engage with users of this sort of city, with people who are managing this sort of city, with sort of leaders and thinkers who are imagining how we develop post-industrial transitions. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great introduction about City Labs, and we will hear when you will participate in a City Lab a bit later on. So now that was a very brief introduction, I also invite you to please check the UNIC website. It's very easy, unic.eu. You will find the details at the end of the presentation, because besides the master program, UNIC does a lot of other activities between the universities, but some activities are also open to citizens in the cities where the universities are located and to wider Europe. Now let's talk about the redesigning the post-industrial city, what we're here for, right? So when we talk about this, the idea is that we're going to be offering an educational experience that has recognized and wants to give a critical response to very specific issues that cities that have industrial past and are now in the transition to a different form and different stages. And we need professionals, or our next generation of specialists, that will have 21st century skills and knowledge that are needed to address those issues or those challenges, and also to recognize and communicate the opportunities that those cities provide to the countries and the regions that they're located in. You will see that we also talk about super diverse societies in these cities, and that's an important component, and we will have our professors talk about this in more detail later on. In terms of practical information, you can also find this, of course, on the website. The title of the master's program is Masters of Science in Redesigning the Post-Industrial City. We will be hosting the first cohort of the master's program this upcoming fall, meaning, from September, it may be a bit later. The duration of the program is 2 years or 24 months on a full-time format. It awards a Master's of Science with 120 ECTS credits. The official language of the program is English. The applications have now opened for applicants from both EU and non-EU countries, and the deadline, the last day to submit the online application for admission, is the 31st of May this year. In terms of the teaching mode, it is face-to-face in person. However, some courses will be offered online to the whole cohort, and we will explain how that looks like in each semester. The location, it's between 2 and 4 of the partner universities' cities. There are some fixed elements, such as all students will start the first semester at Ruhr-Universität in Bochum in Germany. But then, depending on the choice of the student, then you may move to another city of the 8 participating universities, or stay in the university that they all started in. So there is some choice that you have to make in terms of your mobility journey throughout the master's program. The tuition of the program is 9,000 euros for EU and Turkish citizens and 18,000 euros for non-EU citizens. This is paid at the start of each semester, so you have roughly four installments to pay. The website of the program, you can see it on the screen, you will see it throughout the presentation, is unic.eu/RePIC, and you can find all of the information in terms of the program and how to apply in there as well. Now, what's really exciting about this is that it's a joint master's. That means that you're getting the expertise, experience, and networks and support services offered by 8 world-class universities located in Europe, which are Ruhr-Universität Bochum in Germany, Université de Liège in Belgium, University of Oulu in Finland, Universidad de Deusto in Spain, University College Cork in Ireland, University of Zagreb, Croatia, Koç University in Turkey, and Erasmus Universiteit Rotterdam in the Netherlands. Just 2 quick notes. One, Erasmus University Rotterdam will be able to start hosting students from 2024, not in the first cohort. And because it's a new program, the accreditation of the joint masters is expected to be obtained by each of the participating universities in 2023. It's an ongoing process. It's a bit of bureaucracy, but we're on the way. Now, I want to invite again Professor Jason O'Shaughnessy to talk a little bit about what are the expectations, or what is the program aiming to achieve in terms of the graduates, what type of knowledge they will gain in the program and skills.
Great, thank you, Melissa. I mean, I suppose, behind the knowledge that we kind of expect is kind of 2 key terms, I guess, is that we're thinking about multidisciplinarity and multimodal ways of also thinking. So from that point of view, our graduates will have a broad knowledge of urban transformations and urban design, both in an EU and a global kind of context, and that the graduates, through the practices, through the way in which the kind of courses is focused between the city labs, between design studios, between different types of research and lecture courses, they're expected to be able to apply various types of knowledge across different geographical locations and jurisdictions. They're also expected to have and understand the kind of interdependency between human and environmental urban systems, the human, non-human also, as well as the sociological and cultural approaches towards urban dynamics and the idea of different types of actors impacting that. while also understanding major local and global historical developments that actually have impacted the urban settings that they'll be studying. And they'll also have a knowledge of the processes involving the revitalization of post-industrial cities from both a social science point of view through the EU urban agenda, the new European Bauhaus, have an idea around the evolving landscape of sustainability, and also kind of thinking about the circular economy and how we can sort of think about that as impacting the ways in which we develop responses to the post-industrial city. I suppose kind of going on, we would expect that in a sense that the learners, as they kind of go through the program, that they will have the kind of the skills, they'll develop the skills, they'll have the skills in this kind of multidisciplinary kind of context, working kind of multimodally, that they'd be able to kind of critically analyze and have insights to the foundations of, you know, things that impact real world issues in the post-industrial sort of city, that they'd be able to analyze different factors influencing urban settings and have an ability to compare, be involved in, and understand different urban and cultural environments. And also to deal with modern geospatial data, both the acquisition, the maintenance of that, the analysis of that, and also to apply different types of visualization techniques of different types of spatio-temporal transformation processes in these urban areas that we'll be looking at. We'll also kind of anticipate that they'll be able to communicate and translate between different professionals. Again, we're going back to the idea of the multidisciplinarity, going back to the idea of the city lab. We'd expect them to be able to engage, communicate, and understand community stakeholders, their role, and also to understand how different kind of cultures sort of operate. And kind of through that and through those kind of processes, there's an expectation that they would have a capacity to kind of build empathy whilst working with different social groups and bringing together different perspectives. You know, the idea again that they'll be working transnationally, multimodally, and kind of in a multidisciplinary team during the course of their studies. And maybe kind of some of the kind of wider attributes that we can sort of think of having gained these types of experiences, that the graduates would be able to act and serve as curators, really, in transacting and designing urban transition processes, things that impact the future of the post-industrial city. And I suppose kind of catching all that, in a sense, is that they're acting beyond the discipline. They're acting at the kind of cutting edge of the boundaries that have been established within different subdisciplines in order to be able to generate new ideas and apply to not just the kind of current problems that we're kind of facing in sort of cities, but also to the emergent needs that kind of arise as well. So in terms of some of the career opportunities, and going back to this idea of the attributes, so skills that graduates will have kind of gained, I mean, it kind of places them really kind of well, in a sense, across different sort of sectors. So not only after graduation will students have the opportunity to talk about, to kind of reveal those experiences, those sort of skills, but during the process, during the kind of learning of the program, during those 24 months, students will have already engaged with different types of employers, you know, during the development of the kind of course, during the sort of semester, kind of specifically during the kind of city labs, the 2 city labs that are part of the kind of course, and also during research and practically orientated lectures. And one of the kind of key things in terms of supporting the learners and supporting kind of the kind of learning and the kind of students is that the RePIC course, the central RePIC course, will actually have qualified career guidance actors who are there to guide students as they kind of go through their kind of learning. So in terms of the fields of employments that one could expect, having kind of graduated the course, well, they kind of vary from the public sector to the private sector to the third sector. So for example, with the public sector, you're talking about public urban and planning, community development, city administration. With the private sector, we're kind of thinking about companies focus on metropolitan transitions, energy, data management, mobility, health, housing, sustainability, education, but also larger scale, again, multidisciplinary design agencies, and also businesses that are involved in both kind of property, urban redevelopment, and so on, and even architecture. And the kind of third sector would include governmental organizations, both kind of national, European, international levels, whilst also including NGOs in neighborhood and territorial development, and foundations also that would deal with urban development and transformation of large-scale urban settings.
So thank you so much, Dr. O'Shaughnessy, for that overview. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the great things about this program, that because of its multidisciplinary nature, then it offers a lot of very different career paths and options for its graduates. Now we are going to start to talk a little bit more about how is the program structured, what happens during those 2 years. On the screen right now, you can see on a map of Europe the participating universities. It looks a bit complicated at first, but that's why we're here to kind of break it down into more understandable parts. So we're going to go semester by semester to talk about what happens. What you see on the screen right now is just an example of what happens if the student's choice is to go through the track number 2, which is about diversity and social justice. So it means, you know, they will start in the first semester, which is the fundamentals at Ruhr Universität in Bochum in Germany. There is the City Lab at University College Cork, but then from the second semester, then they would come to Koç University in Istanbul to take specific courses. Then in the third semester, then there's another point in which you need to make as a student a choice of whether you want to do some in-depth studies in University Liège in Belgium, or if you want to do research and in-depth also kind of placements or study placements at University College Cork. There are some compulsory courses. We will talk about this later. And then the final semester, you also have a choice to stay where you are or to move to a completely new university of the partner members of the program to develop your master thesis. So we will talk about each of these elements one by one. So to talk about the first semester, I would like to invite our colleagues from Ruhr Universität Bochum, Dr. Thomas Feldhoff, to open his camera and his microphone to give us an overview about the fundamentals, so the courses that are offered at Bochum and the overall kind of experience that students can expect.
Yeah, thank you, Melissa. My name is Thomas Feldhoff. I'm a professor of human geography in the Department of Geography at Bochum University. And I'm the RePIC program coordinator, having worked on the program for almost 2 years now. So I'm very pleased to introduce the structure and contents of the first semester, which will actually take place in Bochum, but also feature a city lab in Ireland. Our curriculum represents a systematic selection of knowledge and skills related to the challenges of post-industrial urban transformations. And we are very much aware of the need to build professional capacities for the analysis and evaluation of these transformations, and also of the need to develop an understanding of planning, design, and management approaches to building sustainability and resilience. The curriculum also reflects the purpose to be coherent and consistent across different education systems. You've seen that the emerging RePIC network is potentially worldwide, with faculty and students from different countries with very different educational and sociocultural backgrounds. To ensure inclusive, equitable education relevant to our common understanding of the post-industrial city, 4 foundation modules will be delivered in the first semester. And the first module is the RePIC core theory lecture, the post-industrial city, society, space, and environment. This lecture will have no single disciplinary or geographical focus, but uses examples from a range of countries and time periods to introduce conceptual and theoretical perspectives on the post-industrial city. The main objective is to make you familiar with the differentiated impact that post-industrialism has on societies and cities, and of course also to showcase concepts, strategies, or even visions for redesigning and reimagining the city of tomorrow. The lecture is accompanied by an applied analysis seminar, a seminar in which you will undertake an independent piece of research, which requires advanced levels of creativity of thought, visualization and presentation techniques, and of course, time and resource management skills. The second module is the RePIC Urban Sustainability Transformations Research Forum, a combination of online educational materials and opportunities for interaction with speakers from all our partner institutions, with views on smart, sustainable, resilient urban transformations. Topics will include, for example, transformative governance, architecture and design for urban resilience, participatory planning to enrich community engagement, or post-colonial migrations and identity politics. And from our students, we expect to be prepared to lead, summarize, and synthesize classroom discussions. To put it briefly here, the research forum will be a great opportunity to experience the broad range of disciplines involved in RePIC and to get directly in touch with our faculty members. The third module is Research Methods 1, and the numbering indicates that there will be subsequent research methods modules at more advanced levels in semesters 2 and 3. In your first semester, you reflect upon research issues, particularly research ethics. You review the characteristics of quantitative as well as qualitative research, and you learn about digital data infrastructures, including OpenStreetMap and web mapping techniques. This means you will be able to assess methods used in published research work and to make informed decisions about your own research designs. The module will be an asynchronous online classroom to also give you more flexibility in your learning progress. And the fourth and final module is the RePIC City Lab, which will take place in the city of Cork in Ireland. Jason has already explained the concept and how it will be run in collaboration with partners from the public, private, and third sectors. It's really a key format that brings engaged research practices to life because we explore real-world challenges with stakeholders and local communities. So that's it for semester 1, and I hand back to Melissa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Veldhoff, for that great overview. And yes, that's one of the key parts of the master's program, which is getting the basic concepts and understanding and research methods right. So now we're going to move to look at how the second semester. So the first time that you have to make a choice whether you will stay in Germany at Ruhr-Universität Bochum, or you will make a choice amongst the other specialization tracks that are available. So there are 4 specialization tracks where there is a university that is the host, that physically will host all of the students that choose that track. And there is also a partner university that provides collaboration in the forms of teaching some of the modules or courses that will be offered in that specialization. So the first specialization that we're going to be talking about is the one related to urban transformations and resilience. Then we will talk about the track related to diversity and social justice, which is hosted at Koç University in Turkey. Then the third specialization or track, it's called Urban Analysis, Smart, Sustainable, and Resilient Cities. And the fourth specialization option is Governance of Post-Industrial Cities, which is hosted in University of Zagreb in Croatia. So to get started, I'm going to now ask Professor Jason O'Shaughnessy to, let's talk again, and Professor Dennis Linehan to let us know more about this track, Urban Transformations and Resilience, which is hosted at University College Cork in Ireland.
Thank you, Melissa. My name is Dennis Linehan. I'm the head of geography in University College Cork. And with my colleague Jason O'Shaughnessy, we'll be leading the first of these tracks, which we've called Urban Transformations and Resilience. At the heart of this track will be time spent in the School of Architecture, working in a studio concept or in a studio context, which will be a little different from the seminar and lecture-based training that will have happened in the first semester, and will involve, in many ways, a deeper and more considered examination of the ways in which the post-industrial city has responded to the kinds of challenges and transformations which have occurred around the world and in Europe. We will, in the studio, offer students opportunities to dig deeper into specific case studies, for example, issues around dockland regeneration, or issues around urban inner city regeneration, or issues around the regeneration of brownfield sites, for example. And we'll offer students time to think about ways in which communities, cities, policymakers have reimagined and reinvented the ways in which these cities are going to carry on into the future. Our teaching in the studio is going to be very personal. It's going to allow students to explore new methodologies which lend themselves very well to the ways in which employers, policymakers, local governments try to make sense of the types of ways in which cities have transformed in recent times. A key part of this activity will be a module which we've called Digital Storytelling and Immersive Fictions, in which we are very keen to train students in the latest approaches to digital technology and digital learning. Students will be enabled to operate and define and create short film, podcasts, etc., which will allow them to better represent and better analyze the ways in which communities and cities have transformed in recent times. In addition, we have a third module, which we've called Conceptualizing Society, Space and the City, which is a module which is dedicated to understanding many new aspects in urban theory. So trying to understand the ways in which we conceptualize the relationships between society and nature, trying to understand the ways in which we conceptualize the connections between economy, politics, and the city. And this theoretical module we regard as being a signature intervention in the whole RePIC Master's course, because it allows students to think in novel and very imaginative ways about the ways that the city will be transformed. So that's it, Melissa, a very short overview of this track. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Linehan, for the overview of the track. Here we have a very nice picture of University College Cork. I invite you to please check the university's website. You can find the links on the master's program website. So you can also get a sense of the university, all of the services that are provided to the students who will choose this track, in terms of, for international students who will be joining, what are the specific support services, as we mentioned before, career development centers, there's the city, everything you want to know about, you will find on their website as well. So now we're going to move to the second semester, another track option for students related to diversity and social justice, which is at Koç University in Turkey. So for that, I'm going to invite Assistant Professor Aslı Günay to open her camera and her microphone to give us an overview of this track and the related modules or courses that are offered in the track.
Thank you, Melissa. Hi again. So I'm Aslı Günay. I'm Assistant Professor in Koç University Media and Visual Arts Department. And now I'm talking on behalf of my colleagues in Koç University in Istanbul and Erasmus University Rotterdam, who are working together to offer our track 2 on inequality, diversity, and social justice. So the physical location and hosting university will be Koç University. And this track highlights that problems faced by post-industrial cities are often multidimensional societal problems revolving around a complex and dynamic interplay between a variety of contradictions, inequalities, diversities, and also historical path dependencies that are resilient to change. So, for instance, at one hand, we are talking about cities as global innovation hubs or growth engines, but at the same time, they produce extreme forms of poverty, environmental damage, social and political disarray. So this track will focus on understanding and investigating inequalities in post-industrial cities. And it also acknowledges the design-related disciplines' role to transform not only individuals' lives, but also overall societies for a greater good. So it will mainly focus on designing innovative approaches to foster social justice in post-industrial cities. And there will be 5 modules, or let me say courses, in which students will first deal with a variety of inequality and diversity themes in post-industrial cities. And they will get familiar with the main conceptual and theoretical tools for understanding these inequalities and diversities. And also, they will develop methodological skills for the analysis and design of solutions to increase social justice, and also actively work with actors in urban contexts. So after giving this brief introduction on our track, I would also like to briefly give information about each of these 5 modules or courses. So the first one, Research Methods course, will build on the Research Methods course in the first semester. And students will learn and use a mixed method toolkit to examine, to understand and act on the issues of inequality and justice in cities. So these will include qualitative, quantitative mixed methods, and also design research methods, and also specific software like geographical information systems, and also other software for data analysis and coding. And especially designer, the way of doing and knowing has a crucial role hereby. And the students will be dealing with diverse design research methods like human-centered design, research through design, participatory design, and also critical and speculative design. So they will be also critically speculating about future experiences in post-industrial cities. And the second course is the STEAM Visual Culture. And this course will examine how artists, filmmakers, or such stakeholders conceive and visualize the identity of cities and their cultural diversity. So by visual materials such as films, graffiti art, photography, installation, architecture, and design, they will deal with how visual culture and post-industrial cities evolved over time and in different contexts. And these will be discussed in relation to migration, gentrification, resistance, and right to the city. And the third one, the production of social injustice in the post-industrial city, will discuss seminal theories of social justice. So let me say Marxism or feminism through the lens of different disciplines like history, political economy, public health, and sociology, and then embed these theories in the urban sphere. So this course will not view the cities only as sites of social theory, but also as prominent sites for social change. So the students will be provided with critical tools based on real-world examples to address these urban problems. So an example can be housing and decision-making to deepen our understanding in this context. So the fourth one, Social Design Studio on Justice and Diversity, as the name implies and also entails, it will provide a socially engaged design studio environment, and it will be supported by seminars, impulse lectures, which will be held on modern topics like food sustainability and migration, activism, design, and gender. And also students will be working with NGOs and activists. And there will be methods like workshops, hack sessions, lettering interviews, and social juries. And finally, Design for Health and Well-being. This course will highlight that although public health strategies have contributed greatly to improvements in public health, there are still main challenges such as health inequalities or obesogenic environments or climate change and its effects on individuals' well-being. And many of these problems are wicked problems like design disciplines deal with. So they are complex, they are dynamic and context specific. So both with theoretical and practical components, the course will challenge students to engage with public health problems. So they will be designing or redesigning health neighborhoods and health cities of the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Gunay, for that great overview. There's a lot of, very new, I think, new topics that are covered in this track. So thank you very much for the overview. So now we're going to be talking about another track option in the second semester, which is the Urban Analysis, Smart, Sustainable, and Resilient Cities track offered at Ruhr-Universität Bochum in Germany. So I will invite again Professor Thomas Feldhoff to give us an overview of the modules that are going to be offered in collaboration also with the partner university, University of Oulu.
Yeah, thank you. You already mentioned that we're going to host this track at Ruhr-Universität Bochum, and there will be contributions from our colleagues at the University of Oulu included. The track focuses on the analysis of human environmental interactions, which includes the way people depend on the environment and the way people adapt and modify the environment, and also what the effects and consequences of these interactions are. Given the complexity of interactions and effects, a set of diverse and complementary methodological perspectives and methodical approaches to analyzing smart, sustainable, resilient post-industrial cities is required. And therefore the track builds on perspectives from physical geography and geoinformatics, urban and landscape ecology, and planning sciences. To give a concrete example of current research, the analysis of spatial patterns and functional connectivities of the landscape is highly relevant for improving green and blue infrastructures, which are fundamental aspects of livable future cities. There are 5 modules in this track. Integrative urban development deals with the features and procedures of integrative development as a holistic approach and its linkages to urban design in the context of smart cities. The focus is on how urban planning and design address the interplay between nature, society, and technology, and how the built environment, business, and innovation are interrelated. Environmental urban planning introduces a planning science perspective on landscapes, environmental goods, and ecosystem services. After completion of this module, you'll be familiar with instruments of landscape planning, nature conservation, and methods of multidimensional ecological impact assessments. Urban remote sensing and smart data provides an overview of the principles of remote sensing and data sources, including open and crowdsourced data. Data visualization techniques and tools are introduced here, and their use will be widely practiced. Development of such skills is necessary for every job, as visualization provides a very quick and effective way to condense and communicate complex information. Urban climatology is interested in the climate system and its links to human activities. In particular, you learn about the urban energy balance, modeling approaches, and remote sensing of urban climates, about crowdsourcing of urban environments, and climate adaptation. As the climate emergency affects all of us in direct and indirect ways, this is indeed essential knowledge. In order to deepen your understanding and expand the variety of methods, the module Research Methods 2 has 3 elective options in this track. These are offered online by the University of Oulu, involving 3 different disciplines. Design thinking in urban context is delivered by the School of Architecture. GIS basics and cartography is delivered by the Geography Research Unit. Data and decision making is delivered by the Oulu Business School. So there's again some more room for individual specializations. That's it for track 3, I think a great opportunity to become a competent and reflective expert for urban analysis. And I'll hand back again to Melissa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Velho, for the overview. And yes, there's a clear kind of emphasis on very specific and concrete tools and methodological approaches for smart, sustainable, and resilient cities. So for those of you who are interested, by the way, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, we do have details of each of these courses are also available on our website. And as I mentioned before, I invite you to check each of the partner universities' websites so that you can find information about the cities in which they're located in the university, the support services for students, and more information. So now we're going to move to the final specialization track option that is offered in the second semester, which is the one related to governance of post-industrial cities, a very important element. And for that, we have here Professor Vedran Dulabic from University of Zagreb in Croatia, who is going to give us an overview of the modules offered in this track.
Yes, thank you very much, Melissa, and greetings to all. Especially, I would like to greet all the potential attendees and students of our postgraduate study. As you already heard, I am Vedran Dulabic. I am from Faculty of Law, Department of Public Administration, and together with our colleagues from my Department of Public Administration, but also from Faculty of Architecture, and probably from other institutions in Zagreb, such as Institute for International Relations and Development, we will be and together with colleagues from Deusto in Spain, we will be offering this governance of post-industrial cities, which we will interdisciplinary explore the topic of governance. As you can see here on the screen, it is divided into the 3 modules. In each module, there are different topics that will be covered. So first one is sustainable urban development, which will introduce you, and you will be able to assess and to discuss with the experts some concept of sustainable urban development, especially the elements of this sustainability, economic, environmental, social, cultural development. And this will provide students with the foundations to critically assess these interrelationships between all these elements, environmental, economic, cultural, social processes that are taking places in urban settings. Second, as you see here, second module will cover several topics which are more or less related with the public administration topics. First one is concept of multi-level governance, and especially cohesion policy and urban development, or cohesion policy of the European Union. So the cities are beneficiaries of this cohesion policy. So the aim of this course is to introduce students to the concept, first of all, of multi-level governance, as well as the organization of EU cohesion policy with special emphasis on urban dimension. So the students will be introduced to basic concepts which are necessary, I would say, to understand the multi-level governance, network governance, so doctrinal theoretical concepts which are important to understand governance of post-industrial cities, regional cohesion policy, regional urban development, absorption capacity, network governance, etc. Then also in this module, we will cover institutional analysis of local and urban governance models. So this is basically analyzing cities as units of local government in the whole system of architecture of government. So you will be introduced to different models of governance of various urban areas, smaller, bigger ones, big cities. So different models that exist in basically all over the Europe. So we will not cover the whole world, but we will cover some of the basic models which we can find in Europe, and connection with central government and these relationships. And the third one is local public services, urban development, and migrations. So you will be exposed to some European standards and principles of urban governance, which which is called Urban Acquis, main trends in local public service development, concept of public services, governance of these metropolitan areas, migrations, which are affecting, as we all know, very much affecting more or less every urban urban area. So basically, the third one is research methods, where you will be to understand the governance issue. So particularly from the point of institutional analysis, urban planning and architectural analysis. So all these topics will be covered and will help you to understand and develop your own work and thinking about the governance and various topics on governance of urban areas. Thank you very much. And I turn back to Melissa again.
Thank you very much, Professor Dulabic. I apologize, I said your surname wrong the first time. But yeah, so, you know, again, for students who want to explore more about the governance and public administration side of a city or their cities in post-industrial transition, this would be the right track to choose. Right, so now we are doing well in terms of time. We're running a bit late, but I'm sure you all can spare a few more minutes so that we can cover all of the content for today. So now we're going to talk about what happens in this third semester. You have now completed your fundamentals. You have then chosen a specialization track at one of the 4 options available. Then in the third semester, you have the choice to physically be at University College Cork in Ireland or at the University of Liège in Belgium. So to talk about the options that are offered in those, you know, in those 2 formats, let's say, I will invite first Professor Jason O'Shaughnessy or Dr. Linehan to talk about the option at Cork in Ireland, which half of the cohort will be there. And then also Professor Jean-Marie Hello from University of Liège to talk about the option of in-depth studies that will be available at that university, which the other half of the cohort will cover. Then there's 2 elements or 2 modules that the whole cohort will need to take part in. One of it it's online, offered by the University of Deusto, and the other one, it's another city lab. So this is the second point in the program that you will be participating in the city lab. So can I kindly ask Dr. O'Shaughnessy to, let's talk first about, you know, the options for structured learning and research placements that would be available in at UCC in the third semester.
Thank you, Melissa. So, I mean, there's kind of 2 kind of components. The third semester, just to make it kind of clear, the third semester there's an option. It's the idea of continuing with the mobility pattern that we sort of saw mapped out earlier on. So there are 2 options. We anticipate that 50% of the cohort would either come to Cork in Ireland, to University College Cork, or they would go to our partners in Liège University, and Jean-Marie will speak about that in more detail. There's a third component, which I think is it's worth kind of mentioning as well in terms of just understanding this sort of map, and that is the second city lab. And the second city lab differs somewhat. The second city lab is additional field work or field experience that a number of disciplines would be aware of, from sort of geography to architecture to social sciences. The distinction with the second city lab, it's number 3 here, is it brings the cohort together. So we talked an awful lot about mobility, about the 4 tracks in semester 2. Semester 3 is when the full cohort comes back together. Actually, 100% of the students would come back together for the second city lab. It's called Urban Field Salon, and we anticipate that being thematically driven. We expect it to be with one of our partner universities. Again, not in Ireland this time. So the first one was in Ireland. This particular one, the first 3 years of the course, we will be working with our colleagues in the University of Malmo to look at the experiences in Malmo, to develop those ethnographic practices, to look at co-creation modalities, working with kind of communities in Malmo for an intense week-long field experience. And the significance of it, where we talk about the cohort splitting, the significance of it is it brings the cohort back together to share experiences from the first semester, from the second semester. And it starts, also the research here starts to kind of impact the way in which the final dissertation evolves. So students start to kind of think about more kind of clearly what they're kind of interested in terms of their own research, in terms of the sort of focus of that, in terms of the kind of themes of that, and also getting kind of on the ground sort of data, how to kind of co-opt and work with communities, stakeholders, cultural organizations kind of in Malmo, and also look at the types of industrial, post-industrial transformations that have gone on there. So it's a really kind of important thing about understanding the third semester, because there is a difference. For the rest of that semester, there's 2 options within UCC, in Ireland. We would again be focused on thinking about the new type of professional activities that graduates would want to be developing. So from that point of view, we would have 2 options. We would have engaged research placements where students would be working with communities directly or with the municipality directly, or potentially kind of industry. Or we would be the other option with that. We would have what's called structured learning activities, where we would be taking a problem from industry or from community, or potentially from different types of stakeholders. And we'd be kind of working directly with the students in terms of advancing their own research interests, in terms of informing the way they're thinking about post-industrial transitions, and invariably then impacting the way in which the final research dissertation evolves. So that's from our side. And I think Jean-Marie will describe the way in which Liège would have a slightly sort of different type of focus and a different sort of structure in relation to those credits that are available in the third semester. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jason, for your introduction. So my name is Jean-Marie Halleux. I am a professor at the University of Liège in Belgium in the fields of economic geography and urban planning. And as you can see on the slide here, we have decided to develop 3 teams with the idea to be complementary to, of course, what would have happened during the first year. So the first team is urban mobility, and concretely it will be related to a courses which is called Urban Planning and Transportation. And the idea with this courses is that the students after these courses would be able to coordinate a mobility plan for a local authority. So that's related to various methodologies, like diagnosis about mobility, like supply analysis, like demand analysis, like the development of scenarios. Of course, it also includes the financial dimension, about the cost, about the financial resources related to this theme of urban mobility. The second dimension, the second team we plan to develop is urban ecology. So there is first a lecture with the idea to develop and to be able to understand and to apply the key concept about urban ecology, like urban microclimate, like urban biodiversity, like urban green infrastructure also. And with this lecture, our student will then be able to discuss and to interact with, for instance, landscape architect. And then maybe something more original is that we plan to offer specific courses on land rehabilitation, so that the students will be able to interact also with experts in relation to brownfield regeneration. The idea behind, the philosophy behind is that, including in post-industrial city, we have to, of course, develop more urban regeneration in order to avoid greenfield developments. You probably have heard about this European strategy to limit land take, to limit land consumption. So this course is really related to that, with a quite technical dimension in relation, for instance, to issues such as excavation of soil, landfill, decontamination, and so on. But of course, the objective is not to transform our students in, I would say, for instance, geological engineer. But again, the idea is that our students would be able to discuss and to interact with those experts in the field of brownfield regeneration. So that's the second team, and then we have a third team, urban economics. And here I would say that the ambition is that our students, for instance, would be able to interact, maybe to negotiate with property developers. So that's notably related to a lecture on land and property markets. I am actually in charge of this courses, and this courses is about the main economic mechanism that explain, for instance, land and property prices, that explain the issue of value, that explain investment choices. And so on the basis of those mechanisms, the idea is that our students would be able to develop land policies in, for instance, the administration they would be in charge of. And of course, we all know that land policy is a kind of prerequisite for an efficient spatial and urban planning. In brief, this is what we offer during this third semester in Liège. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Hallo from Liège. So there's, then as Professor O'Shaughnessy mentioned, it's the time, the third semester is the time when the whole cohort comes back for the Urban Field Salon in the shape of City Labs, and then they continue the rest of the semester at either University College Cork or at University of Liège. So now I'm going to ask Dr. Matthias Falk from Ruhr-Universität Bochum to give us a very brief overview of what happens in the last and fourth semester, which is the last semester of the program, which is when, as a student, you would be in the process of writing your master thesis or dissertation, and that has different options as well. So I would kindly ask Dr. Falk to open his camera and microphone to give us an overview, and then we will go on to the topic of admissions.
Yes, thank you, Melissa. So the fourth semester is the final stage of the RePIC study program, and everything you have learned and discovered so far, now is the time to combine your knowledge, your new skills, and your networks, and apply them in a fascinating state-of-the-art dissertation project at a location of your choice. So as you can hear, you can again choose one study location for your dissertation project or stay where you have studied in the third semester. And another special feature of RePIC is that you can choose between 3 types of a master thesis project. In this way, we cater for a future and job market oriented type of final exam. And the first option is a classical dissertation, which you might be used to from the bachelor study program. And the second option aims at a more science-based job market orientation, be it in a famous research institution or as an entry into a PhD program. And together with your supervisors, you will address a specific research question, conduct research, and submit a paper for publication in a prestigious scientific journal. The third option pursues a more engaged research approach, addressing practical projects, often in close collaboration with practitioners in urban architecture, design, and/or consulting. And this would be a good option for fast job market access to the public and/or private sector. So I guess yeah, exactly. So concerning the students, so whom are we actually targeting with our study program? We have already stressed the integrated holistic approach that RePIC actually pursues regarding a sustainable and resilient transition of post-industrial cities. That means on one side that our universities bundle the complementary strengths of different research perspectives and disciplines. On the other side, our curriculum explicitly aims to bring diverse backgrounds from the field of urban studies together in order to mutually broaden each other's horizon and co-create more feasible and sustainable urban futures. So eligible fields you can indicate in the admission process include, but are not limited to, the list you can see here, like architecture, urban design, urban planning, urban development, geography, civil engineering, geoinformatics, environmental engineering, sociology, public administration, business studies, culture, media, visual arts studies, but also, of course, other different related fields of study. So, I mean, for instance, if you can think of more environmental science-oriented fields such as urban or landscape ecology, you can, for instance, write it in the motivation letter. There's plenty of room to express your interest for the study program, which brings us to the next slide. Yeah, so here you can see a list of application documents, and I really urge you, please exactly give us a PDF in this sequence. And that includes a copy of your passport and a certified copy of the diploma if it's not in English. So please provide an English translation because it's sometimes hard to read non-English things, and yeah, orient yourself in that. And of course, certified copies of academic transcripts, CV in English language, please. And of course, also a proof of English language abilities where applicable. And last but not least, we also need a structured motivation letter describing your specific interests. And concerning the motivation letter, you can find the corresponding structure on the website as well as in the admission portal. It addresses in total 5 questions. They are related, for instance, to why do you want or what do you want to join the RePIC study program, and which track do you prefer? What might be your disciplinary background, expertise? What are major challenges of post-industrial cities you like to focus on in RePIC? So you also really like to gain your interest and listen to what you have to say. And also, what do you expect from the RePIC study program? And last but not least, which is also important, what kind of professional or career path are you aiming for? So we can, of course, then tailor suitable engaged research practices for you. And there's a word count to it. Yeah. So much for the application documents. Thank you, Melissa. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Falk. So yes, so as you know, as we mentioned at the beginning, the applications are now open for the first cohort who is going to join the program this upcoming fall semester. The applications, again, will close on the 31st of March. So we invite all of you who have participated or who are listening to us after today to check the program website, where you will find details about all of the application documents, and you will find a link to the application portal. It is hosted by Ruhr-Universität Bochum. So you can also find the address on the slide here. And in case you have any questions as you're in the process of preparing your application, or if you have any further questions about any of the courses, the mobility path, the support services offered to admitted students, you can contact the team through email to the email address that you see on screen, which is repic@unic.eu. You can also schedule a call through Zoom. We have a Calendly account, and you can, we have specific dates each week in which we can meet with potential applicants to answer questions. And of course, the main information resource, which is the website. So I want to thank all of our panelists today, professors who have joined us and given their time to give us an overview. We're going to have time now for, very briefly, for questions. So if you have any questions, I kindly ask you to type them on the Q&A section. There's already 2 questions here related to scholarships. So for that, I'm going to ask, again, Dr. Falk to give us an overview of what are the opportunities for scholarships, and when would admitted candidates be informed about any scholarship opportunities. So there's 2 questions from 2 of the participants, whether we offer scholarships and whether it is possible to obtain 100% funding or scholarship.
Yes, thank you. So I think most important type of scholarship is, of course, the most desired one is the one from Erasmus Mundus Design Measures. And this is something we actually applied for. And decision is due on July. So we cannot tell if the scholarship are available yet. Yeah, so this is the state of the art for this. But of course, we'll also try our best to provide national scholarships if eligible. But this depends, of course, what kind of nationality the students have and what kind of development study track they will actually choose. So
thank you very much. Thank you. So yes, if you apply for admission, you will be informed about any scholarship that may be granted to you as an admitted applicant after July. And also on the program website, there are some additional information resources about national and international scholarship granting organizations that you can check, that they may also be able to fund your tuition fees or other fees if you decide to join the program. So we're going to have a couple more minutes for questions, and then we are going to wrap up today's information session. I want to thank again all of you who have joined us, and to always feel free to get in touch with the team as you consider your graduate study options. So let me just check briefly over here to make sure we're not missing any. Okay, so there is a question. Can a bachelor's in English education apply to this master's degree? So I want to ask Dr. Falk to also.
Yes, so I will also answer the other question if a bachelor in economics is also eligible. Basically, this is what the motivation letter is actually for. So we are more or less an urban studies related program in the field. So it is, of course, helpful if you have certain knowledge in this. And this is also why we ask you to structure the motivation letter. If you can really convince us, so why not? But if you're maybe just into language and there is no connection to urban studies, it would probably be also a little bit more difficult to maybe be familiar with the actual methods, even though we have a lot of entry points, but it might be a little bit more difficult to follow the stuff in the desired track of 4 semesters actually. But yeah, we look forward for you to give your statement in the motivation letter. Also the same for economics. Economics, if it's like related to finance and maybe banking sector, or is it related to urban economics, related to infrastructural investments or something? So please indicate it in the motivation letter, but basically the answer is yes.
Great, thank you very much. There is another question that I can answer. It asked which partner institute is located in Germany. So it is Ruhr-Universität Bochum, located in the city of, Bochum, in the city of Bochum in Germany. You can find all of the details about the university on the program website. There is another question. What if we are not graduated and didn't get the diploma yet? I guess the question is, can we apply? Also for Dr. Falk.
Yes, sorry, I had to shut on the video. Yes, but the thing is that you can apply, but you need to finish before you actually means before October, before you enroll here, your study program has to be finished. That means that you probably are in the last 2-3 months of your bachelor thesis and are almost finished. Then it's okay. Then you have to give us the documents later on. Your diploma.
In most cases, for example, if you have a document that can be issued by your university stating that you have completed all credits or that you will be completing all of the required credits to obtain your diploma later, then you're able to provide that document in the application. That's also specified on our website.
Exactly. So the transcript of records, please indicate it in the admission documents in the PDF, so we can see that you're already advanced and just one thing is missing.
Okay, so if there are no other questions, I don't see any more on the Q&A section. Oh, there's one here. What types or what kinds of NGOs where this department cooperates together to give learning experiences for the students? So I guess I'll rephrase the question as, yes, what types of non-governmental organizations are involved or will be involved in the activities that will involve the RePIC students? So there's a lot, because I think in each of the semesters and each of the tracks, there is some involvement of NGOs, but I would kindly ask Dr. Linhan or Dr. O'Shaughnessy maybe to talk from the perspective of the City Lab activities, if you have in mind some examples of NGOs that will cooperate or are already cooperating with the program.
Thanks, Melissa. I mean, I can give some examples. Within Cork, I think each city, each university has a list already. In fact, I think we have a list of 5 organizations beyond the university that we'll be collaborating with during the study program. So that's 5 times 8, that's 40 outside organizations that RePIC will engage in total. And I think that's possibly a minimum of 40 overall. To give an example, in Cork, we would be dealing with, for example, the Cork, the public-private network. So that's actually the public partnership network. So that's a kind of a network collecting pretty much all of society. So, for example, community groups, local activist groups who are interested in kind of housing for Irish citizens, for refugee housing, interested in urban development. We're also talking about cultural organizations who are kind of partnership, who again are kind of embedded in kind of different ways, looking to kind of connect in with their organizations. So I think the range of NGOs specifically is quite extensive. In other words, we're dealing with an umbrella group, and within that group, for example, in Cork, we're probably talking about 20 different subgroups being kind of part of that. So it's I won't say it's unquantifiable, but it's large. It's certainly a very large quantity of those types of groups that we be dealing with specifically. And I think other partners here would have probably have a sort of similar answer.
Yes, so I saw Professor Vedran also raise his hand to, I think, if you would like to give some examples from Zagreb, from University.
Yeah, we in the process of accreditation of this program, we gathered significant, let's say, official letters of support from various organizations. So maybe, I don't know if they are publicly available, but I think we have several dozens of those institutions who are supporting us and will cooperate with us. I know for Zagreb for sure that we have cooperation with the Association of Towns of Croatia that will be helping in guest lectures and in all other universities and institutions. So we were thinking about different NGOs, and I don't know if the list is publicly available, maybe somewhere in the documentation of these various institutions, NGOs, etc., that support and will in future collaborate with the program.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. There's 3 questions that I want to cover before we wrap up. One is related to the English language proficiency requirements. So one question is there a specific score for English that it's required, or proficiency level? And another question was, is it possible to be admitted with only mode of instruction being in English from the bachelor's degree? So if there is a letter from the university where the student has completed their undergraduate degree stating that their education was in English, would that be enough to demonstrate, enough to demonstrate English proficiency? So that's a question for Dr. Falk.
Yes, thank you. So basically, we had 3 different criteria. One was English-speaking, native-speaking country. So this would one be criteria. The other one would be obtained a bachelor degree in an English language. That would also be eligible. And the third is that you actually then have, if you do not match the first criteria, you should provide an English learning certificate, such as TOEFL or IELTS. However, I remember that Koç University has certain restrictions upon that. So I think if you want to study the study track at Koç, I think, what was it, TOEFL or IELTS? I'm not sure.
Yes, so depending on the track that you will choose, there will be specific requirements from the universities. In the case of the track on diversity and social justice, then at Koç University, we do require a specific score on a TOEFL test. But you would need to check depending on the track that you want to choose. There is another question related to housing options for students during each semester. So a question is, will the program help provide housing, or will students be on their own to find residency? So each of the partner universities have put together a list of information resources for the students that includes information about housing, whether it's on-campus accommodation or off-campus accommodation, and which are the specific units or teams at their universities that will help the students of the program, RePIC students, to find accommodation. The level of support varies across universities in terms of more hands-on or hands-off approach, so it depends on the track. But overall, I think the aim is to support students as much as possible to find accommodation during the semesters that they are with them. If anyone else in the panel wants to add any details on this? No? Okay. So because of time, I think we really need to wrap up. There is a last question, but I couldn't quite understand it. So I'm going to ask the person who asked that question about humanitarian works to maybe structure it via email and send it to us via email, and we'll be happy to then provide an answer from the program members. Okay, so we're gonna finish for today. I want to thank everyone again for joining us, and I hope that you have a great weekend ahead and that you have enjoyed today's information session. So thank you very much. Thank you to all of our panelists for their time, and so goodbye. We're gonna say goodbye now. Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.